Hi everyone, this is attorney Ogmen, and today I'm in front of you to share the latest news we have on immigration. This week was very important actually because this week the President Trump signed the bill which he called One Big Beautiful Bill Act into law. As of July 4th, 2025, we can say that the bill that President Trump signed actually one of the most significant overhauls of U.S. immigration policy in recent history. It allocates approximately $150 billion over 4 years to intensify immigration enforcement, expand border security, and impose new restrictions on undocumented immigrants and asylum seekers. What we could say about this bill is very important point is actually about massive funding for enforcement for immigration. $150 billion dedicated to immigration enforcement is going to be starting this year from 2025 to 2029. This funding will include $46.5 billion for completing and expanding U.S Mexico border wall, $45 billion for expanding the detention facilities to hold actually undocumented immigrants, $14 billion for deportation operations, $10 million annually actually to hire 10,000 new ICE agents, effectively doubling the agency's capacity. I think that's one of the important part because with this funding, DHS and immigration enforcement was hoping to actually to increase the amount of ICE agents they could hire so in that they could actually enforce the deportation process and make it more expedited. Based on this funding, this massive funding being allocated for immigration enforcement, we can also say that which is going to cause actually increased detention and deportations. I'm sure that as our followers know by now, the ICE daily arrest numbers actually increased to 3,000, which was up from 1,800 earlier in the year. As you know that there are new detention center has been created, such as the alligator Alcatraz in Florida, have been established to accommodate the searching detainees. This bill funds also the deportation for up to 1 million deportations annually, we can say. So the bill that President Trump signed on July 4th, basically creating those huge funding for immigration enforcement. But at the same time, they are actually increasing some filing fees for immigrants, which is going to be higher fees for immigrants, such as asylum application fees, which actually has been free. Basically, asylees have never paid for asylum filing fee until up to now, but now the fee is going to be $1,000. That means from now on, when the USCIS implement the start date of the filing fee, asylum seeker will have to pay $1,000 filing fee when they want to file for their asylum application. Secondly, there's a fee change, higher fees for employment authorization document, which is actually going to be increased to $550. And also, this will be basically people who are applying for it needs to also renew it every 6 months. What I could tell you during the previous Biden administration term, basically renewal time was it was like from 1 year they increased it to 2 years, but then it was, I believe, since 2024 it changed into 5 years. So basically with the recent EAD applications, employment authorization applications, basically term was like 5 years when they apply to renew it or initial filings. But now this is going to be actually have to be renewed every 6 months, and we believe that's one of the big changes comes into place. Another actual higher fee for immigrants will be for appeal fees, especially the appeal fee for when if the person's asylum is denied by the court, immigration court, and if they would like to appeal it to Board of Immigration, the fee was until now was $110, but now it's going to be actually $900. Also, temporary protected status application fee also increased to $500, which is up actually from $50. So we can say that with the bill that the President Trump signed, it also brings higher fees, which is going to be used actually for immigration enforcement. Another thing that we can say that with this bill that President Trump signed on July 4th, there's going to be restrictions on actually public benefits. So undocumented immigrants are now going to be ineligible for Medicaid, food stamps, basically SNAP, and Affordable Care Act premium tax credits. At the same time, the mixed status families faced new actually difficulties when they wanted to access to federal benefits. Another important part with this bill, which is actually very important for immigrants in the U.S. when they want to send money to their loved or their families or their loved ones, their families and friends in overseas. And basically this tax will bring a 3.5% tax will be imposed on money transfers sent to abroad by undocumented immigrants. Initially, it was actually proposed for that percentage to be 5%, but it was lowered to 3.5%. So this means that if undocumented immigrant in the U.S. want to send money through Western Union, as an example, to their family in overseas, now they have to actually pay 3.5 taxes on the money that they will be sending. Basically, with this bill, we see there are a lot of actually effects on immigration. Basically, we can also add a couple more things here just for our followers to know. As you know that there was a travel ban that covered up to 36 countries, which was up from 19 countries. And also refugee admissions still remain suspended indefinitely. And of course, also now asylum seekers face new financial and procedural barriers, including the higher fees and expedited processing times with the current changes in immigration. And also one important part with the current bill that President Trump signed, basically it makes stronger for a program that facilitating closer collaboration between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. So basically this means this could increase the likelihood that routine police stops could lead to detention and deportation. That's very important because if you're just driving and you stop by the routine police stops, that could easily lead to detention or deportation process, which we do see time to time in different part of the U.S. right now, but this will be like an increase actually what's going on so far. Basically, what we can say is also there are other funding for immigration courts, which is actually increased from $850 million to $1.25 billion for immigration courts. With this funding, the goal is to expedite the deportation and asylum cases, reducing the time immigrants have to prepare defenses or apply for relief. So what we could say that the bill that President Trump calls One Big Beautiful Bill Act has been met with both praise and criticism actually. Supporters argue that it actually makes our national security stronger and it will be enforcing the immigration laws. But while the critics condemned, it actually undermines humanitarian protections and imposes undue burdens on vulnerable populations. Basically, we are seeing that the bill's actually implementation is expected to have far-reaching implications for immigrant communities and legal process and broader U.S. immigration system. And this bill was the President Trump wanted to pass since he came to power starting January of this year. And finally, he was able to successfully pass the House and also Senate, and then it was back to the House and it was able to pass again with the changes it was made in the actual Senate, and it was signed by the President Trump on July 4th, 2025. And we'll see how the bill is going to affect the immigration. With these changes, we believe the effect is going to be really felt very soon, but we all going to see the changes and the effects. And if there are any different development about this, we will share with our followers. I hope this news helps our followers or clients and their loved and their family and friends. Have a great day. This is Attorney Ayhan Ogmen.